welcome to the Kielder Observatory podcast. And coming up, we're going to be learning a lot about flies. Yes, there are flies in space. Well, of course, they're on board spaceships. Where else would a fly be? It's not flying around of its own free will because there's no oxygen. But flies are very important when it comes to our understanding of space, how space might impact the bodies of future astronauts, and indeed those of the past as well, because flies have been in space since the 1940s. So it's nothing new, but it's certainly something that NASA, even today, are relying on to further our knowledge. And we'll also learn a bit more about flies in general, as to why you should be a bit kinder towards a fly, and why flies, might well need you to support their very existence. So details about that from Dr Erica McAlister, who is one of the world's leading experts on flies and midges, because midges are obviously a big thing at this moment in time, especially at Kielder Observatory. And from midges to Dan Pye, a seamless link. I never thought I'd have to provide the link between a midge and Dan, but you are there.
Both blood-sucking.
Both blood-sucking individuals that can be found in a forest. Here he is. Now, obviously, people know about the observatory. If you don't, then there's lots that you can find out about it.
What are you listening for?
Kielder Observatory has been obviously running for quite some time now, but there is news that no longer necessarily do you need to trek all the way to the main Kielder Observatory site, because there is a new second small site, which is you can tell us about.
Yeah, so we've very exciting news. This is the biggest expansion I think that we've ever done. Is we've taken over the twice brewed stargazing offer or observatory offer, which is a lovely warm room with actual radiators, and then next door is a 30-seater planetarium with a flushing toilet. Yeah, I know. There's a little shop area. There's also a roll-off roof observatory, which we're working on. That's a thing that's going to take a little while for us to get that fully working and nice and good. And then we've got a huge plethora of telescopes on offer as well, about 24 of them, in fact, around the observatory, which we can get out, get your eyes to eyepieces, just as we would at the observatory. And we're still in the Dark Sky Park here as well. So huge offer, and additional to all of that wonderful offer that we have there. And of course, we carefully curate all of our experiences to be cloudy night experiences, and if it's clear, that's a bonus. In addition to all of that, you can stay overnight. There's accommodation. There's also a pub restaurant, a microbrewery, and Sycamore Gap, really, really close by, and Hadrian's Wall, literally 5-10 minutes walk away. So it's an incredible place to visit, an incredible part of the country, still in the incredible dark skies of Northumberland, a little bit closer to the A69, the main road that leads from Newcastle to Carlisle, so a little bit easier to get to than the observatory. And there's also a bus that runs during the daytime as well. So we are in a whole new world, a whole new realm, is twice brewed in, and very exciting for us. Very different offer to what we offer with the very remote rural setting of the Kielder Observatory. So I think you'll find a difference between the two experiences, but still maintaining the delivery that we're well known for.
That is fantastic. And I actually drove past the twice brewed in the other week, actually, and it is like on the back road there that sort of runs, like the military road, isn't it? The
military
runs
road,
parallel almost to the A69. So it's out, as you say, right on Hadrian's Wall. But this is going to be a fantastic, different experience. Of course, the usual observatory remains and continues as is and has been. But this will be something else where if you do want to make a more of a trip of it, and you can stay over, you can enjoy a restaurant and a pub and that Kielder experience as well, in slightly warmer surroundings. And it gives another opportunity, I suppose, doesn't it? Because the weather can be a bit of an issue that's obviously out of everybody's hands.
Yeah.
When we have strong gales, snow, all those kind of times where the main Kielder Observatory is off limits, and you can't get there, and that can be sometimes for quite a while as well, where you're out of business. So it's another option there, which is going to be, as I say, overall, weather aside, more accessible for those that don't have the means and the transport to get themselves up to the main Kielder site.
Yep, and that's a huge big benefit to us is the rural setting that is the main observatory is troublesome at times because of weather. So this does give us an opportunity to take those events that we would otherwise struggle to deliver during the winter time and move them to a place which is a little bit easier to access, a little bit more comfortable. It's almost like it's a good platform to start with. So if you were a little bit intimidated by coming to Kielder Observatory, then you could go to Twice Brood, see how you get on there, and then move on to the Kielder Observatory when you're feeling like you would like a further adventure. But we still have the same charitable objective. So the whole point, and not forgetting that Kielder is a charity, we do this because we are looking to extend the reach of education in astronomy wherever you're from. And this really helps us deliver all of that objective and the rest of our charitable objectives as well. So it's an extension of our charity in a place where we can achieve more than we could have been isolated at the Kielder Observatory.
Yes, it does open the door for stargazing with beer and an official, I'm sure in time, an official Kielder brew, surely.
Yes, and actually by the time this podcast comes out, that may have arrived on our shelves. And also, we do have an alcohol license now at the Kielder Observatory, so we can serve alcohol there as well.
Oh, hang on a minute, you just dropped in there. So there is going to be a Kielder beer?
Maybe. If you're a fan of a pale ale, there may be something on the way.
Oh, look out. It's a good time. It's a good time. And with an alcohol license as well, what could possibly occur in future? Sounds good. So, branching out, getting your own beer, and setting up for the autumn time when, obviously the dark skies are coming back again now. And, what a way to toast an aurora if it should show.
Exactly, with Hadrian's Wall silhouetted against the backdrop of a aurora. Amazing. Can't wait.
Job's a good one. Watch this space for more details of that. This is the Kielder Observatory podcast. I'm Ian Brannan. Dan Pye, Director of Astronomy, is with me. And now, our main guest. Now, you may wonder, what do flies have to do with space? Well, you're about to find out. Dr Erica McAlister is a British entomologist, a museum curator, and a presenter specialising in the study of flies. So much so, she's actually in charge of all of the collections to do with flies at the Natural History Museum in London. She's responsible for a collection of millions of specimens, and she has a strong focus on public engagement. So as a result of that, you might have heard her on the radio before or on the TV. She's even spoken at the Royal Albert Hall, and she is with us right now to talk all about flies and a little bit about why they're connected with space, but also instrumental in space exploration as well, believe it or not. It's going to be a fascinating discussion. I guarantee at the end of this, you're going to have a whole new appreciation for flies and midges as well. She's with us now. Welcome, Erica. Let's just start with the first question, really. People will think of flies as a bit of a pest. Why should we care about flies?
Is that really the first question?
It is.
What's the value of flies? I mean, what is the value of humans? Let's get more basic. What is the value of anything? What is the point of anything? There is no point, no value, and yet there is extreme value for everything. So we move on from the existential question about the value of life and all things living. And if you're going to put a value on flies, basically whole world ecosystems would fall apart if you didn't have them. I mean, let's go in with the drama first. They are one of the 4 mega rich groups. So 80% of all animals on the planet are insects. Okay, 85%, all described animals. So when it comes to making sure the world functions in a nice, clean, happy state, you've got to ask our insect kin to kind of help look after it. And the flies are one of the mega groups of insects within it. So there's about 185,000 described species of flies so far on the planet, with over 7,000 in the UK. So the numbers of beetles and the number of butterflies and moths put together is about the number of fly species in the UK. And the thing about flies is they get their little tarsi into absolutely everything. So they're pollinators, they're decomposers, they're predators, they're parasites, parasitoids, sanguivores, fungivores, anything, you name it, and they get it. And as you've just alluded to earlier, they are the planet's explorers and interplanetary explorers. You know, they're the ones who explore all of the land. They're in the sea, they're in the air, they're underground, they're at the bottom of lakes, and they're in spaceships above our heads.
Wow, so spaceships will come to. Let's start by these sub-aqua flies, first of all. I think a lot of people were surprised that flies are living underwater. So tell us about that. Where are they in the lake?
Quite a low down, you've got little fly, these things called chironomids, which are your midges. So you have biting midges and non-biting midges. And the non-biting midges are basically, they're like, where can we live? Oh, look, I'll go and live up there on top of a mountain. I'll go and live in the Arctic. I'll go and live in the Antarctic. I'll go and live in the sea. I'll go and live in a cave. It's like, yeah, woo! So all sorts of exciting things.
So that's interesting then about well, let's talk about midges, because that's something that we have a lot of at Kielder Observatory this time of year. And you said there's different types of them, many different types of them, but to break it down, there are the bitey ones and the non-bitey ones, and obviously people will be familiar with the bitey ones in particular.
Now, the bitey ones, the Ceratobegonidae, or cerats, to be easier for everyone, there's about 173 species in the UK, and everyone's like, can we get rid of them? The whole family, they're awful. But their cousins in the tropics are the pollinators of chocolate.
Oh.
I know. Now, I hate chocolate, so we can get rid of chocolate. I don't mind. And I like the flies, which I gather would be a completely different way of most people wanting the situation to be. But yeah, that is the thing. So these tiny little midges, because they're so small, are often manipulated or utilized by plants to be really effective pollinators. And they only need blood meals when the female has egg development. So the rest of the time, she's a pollen feeder. So it's just because she's mother's doing the best for her offspring that she takes a bit of your blood.
And that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah. So your little foster parents, just think of it like that way.
Oh, that's a much nicer way when they're...
Exactly.
Yeah, you're making us feel emotionally involved to these
Thank you. That's my...
And a choice there of you can have no midges, but then you're going to have to lose chocolate as well. I mean, you've really got us there.
And what's amazing about this as well is that there's loads of novel proteins to science. What causes the itch, what causes the vasoconstriction, what causes the dilation, all of these sorts of things that may in itself be helping us down the line when it comes to medical advancements. So again, just think of yourselves as little test subjects for future understanding about what all these novel proteins would do. So it's for the greater good.
So why does it itch?
Well, that's it. We're not quite sure. So I know in mosquitoes, they have 150 novel proteins, which it reacts differently in different people. So some people don't itch at all. I don't. Plus, I'm not bitten. I think they must know I'm their savior, and so they don't come anywhere near me. But we are beginning to look at all these different proteins and how they interact and think about how we can use this within surgery. So causing blood to flow more, blood to flow less, etc., will be really greatly enhanced in those sort of situations.
Tell us about then where flies come in with scientific development. You've just touched on one there, where we're getting understanding of reactions, and just some of the examples maybe then that where flies have led us to in scientific development up to this point.
Okay, well, we can just mention one fly then, Drosophila melanogaster, which if you've done anything to do with biology at any point in your life, this fly would be thrown at you. So this is the one we first used as a model organism to understand inherited diseases, genetics, etc. So it appeared in some labs. The famous one is in America, in Colombia, the banana lab. And this over 100, oh God, we're old now, aren't we? So more than 100 years ago. I keep thinking of the 90s as only like yesterday. It seems like yesterday. And so they started working. And so Mendel. Have you heard of Mendel, the Gregorian monk? I loved Mendel. He was very obsessed by his peas. And I like a man who's obsessed by his peas. So he was the first one who was crossing all his peas and realizing that some of them were having traits similar to their direct parents, and some of them were having different traits. So he was like, something's going on here with these peas. And he started thinking about this. And of course, he didn't understand anything about genes, because we didn't understand DNA, all of that. And that all came. And so Thomas Hunt Morgan. So he's the fruit fly scientist. Annoyingly, by the way, Drosophila are not fruit flies, they're vinegar flies, because fruit flies, as you obviously know, are tephritids. Very annoying, isn't it, when people get things wrong like that? But we're moving on. And Drosophila, so he basically got really annoyed with Mendel and got really upset. So he once set about to disprove this monk and say, no, he doesn't understand anything. And in doing so, he proved him correct, which is a lovely piece of science, that. And he was then able to see what was going on, and the first one to really have a look at this inherited, how these genes and how they pass on inherited traits. And now for the roll forward 130, 140 years, and we are now have an understanding of our genome. We know, and we share so many of the inherited diseases, all sorts of things with these flies. So we can look at the flies and carry out experiments, some good, some bad. We can carry out behavior. We can do all sorts of things. We can manipulate the genes of these flies and to understand what's happening to us. So they've been used for the greater good for over 100 years. And we're now sending them into space. So they were the first animals that went up into space in 1947 in a little rocket. I like the idea of sending winged creatures into space. I know, because genuinely, I interviewed a woman from NASA about this, and she was amazing. But in my head, I had flies in little spacesuits. I was like, this is great.
I just imagine them with little crash helmets on. And
likewise.
Just sat there in their seats.
Yeah. And I thought that would be brilliant. It would be like, yes. But no, they go up in what looks like little cassettes, and they're all living together in these little cassettes. And I'm like, oh. So basically, they're kind of going up in tiny little spaceships. It kind of mimics that sort of, containerized environment, these things. And they were the first animals to circumnavigate the moon, along with some tortoises. Again, a bit random.
Wow.
I just don't know how the tortoises, such a long-lived creature would go, do you remember? Do you remember what we strapped down flying over that object? Weird. But they're doing all sorts of experiments on these, and to understand, because if there's a change in their physiology, we could see similar. So they're looking at, for example, the impact on flies' hearts. So if but a heart is just a pump, and they've got pumps all over them because they have to move oxygen around quite quickly. And space travel really does have a really nasty impact on these pumps. And I'm like, I'm not going into space. After seeing what it does to flies, I'm like, oh no.
They must get really confused, like floating around without flapping their wings. Do you think they're kind of like, oh?
Well, there was the spider that got really confused, and it just couldn't figure out how to build a web. And it was just like, nope. These things operate in a three-dimensional space. We're pretty much two-dimensional. We get up and we fall over. And suddenly you've put them into this weightless environment. They've got to be like, whoa. Yeah,
that's crazy. I wonder if they have the same kind of sickness effects as well that we get. This is actually the main reason why I don't want to go to space. There's quite a few reasons. I think we got to look after this planet. This planet needs us to do better. But they communicate by the vibrations of their wings. So if they sing to each other. So I don't know how they would be singing in space. There's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of questions.
And this comes into play now. Obviously, as you say, they've been doing this since, 1947, but the flies are still as important as ever, because I know that recently it's fruit flies, isn't it? Particularly, I think that they're using, NASA are using, to learn about the effects of sort of long-term space travel as well. So when it comes down to, going to Mars or wherever we may go in future, to try and get an insight, I think particularly to DNA, isn't it, that they're currently studying with fruit flies at the moment.
Vinegar flies. But yeah, it's exactly that. But it's also, have you heard of the sleeping chironomid?
Not so far till today, no.
Okay, so this is another fantastic. These are your non-biting midges. So those lovely copulatory raves that you're seeing all over the place at the moment, these aerial plumes of flies, they're either the biting midges or these non-biting midges, these amazing explorers. And there's one species, Polypedilum vanderplanki, brilliant name, and these are able to desiccate themselves to 3% of their original body mass as a larvae, and then they can fall asleep for 13 years. Yeah. So scientists, especially NASA scientists, are like, whoa, how is this happening? What are they doing? And what is happening at a cellular level? So again, the flies are, because of their amazing ability to adapt to all these different ecological niches, are being totally inspirational.
I think in my mind, I always thought that flies had really short lifespans as well, like really, really short lifespans. So they don't. They go for years.
You're thinking of adults.
Okay.
So there are some chironomids that the adult is only alive, male is alive for 2.5 hours, and the adult female is half an hour.
Oh.
But they've had many, many, many months in the sea, swimming around, having fun.
Oh, so they're like retirement is to fly around. Almost.
It's their adult time.
It's just really quick.
So they have a little thing that they have to get done, and then that's them finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Copulatory rave. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, most of your life you spend eating, and then you have a little bit of concentrated adult, and then you die. Brilliant.
What a life. So with the type of midge that we have at the observatory then, so it's in our specific area, many, many, many different types of midge than just the one that eats us? Or is there many, many midge of the ones that also eat us?
Yeah. No human has ever died by exsanguination, by the way, sadly. So I did look this up because that's what you do in your spare time. And so we have known, for example, some generally immature. I can't, again, I don't work with mammals, so I was like, come on, baby cows. The word is calf. So calves have been exsanguinated. Some foul. I know in Texas when they had an explosion of mosquitoes due to unforeseen, like lots of really weird stochastic weather events, 7 cows were exsanguinated, which is kind of like, that's hardcore. But we don't have enough body mass for as many mosquitoes or midges to land on us to suck out enough blood to do that. You'd need a lot more skin.
That's comforting to know, somewhat, kind of.
Yeah, so you'll never die. It's all right. You just itch to death.
So with all the midge that we have right now, some of the questions that we often get is, what's the difference between a midge and a mosquito, and why are these ones so big compared to the ones that I've seen in Scotland?
So the problem is, you may be talking about mosquitoes, you may be talking about midges. So the term midge is a loose term. Okay, it doesn't specifically. So it kind of applies to a group of insects, a group of flies. So you get this is the problem with common names. So mosquitoes are only in the family mosquito, which is Culicidae. Now midges can mean mosquitoes. It depends who you're talking to. But to us, to dipterists, they mean two things. They either mean non-biting midges, the chironomids, or biting midges, the ceratopagonids. But then you've also got the black flies, simulids. So they might be biting you as well. You've got a few other things that might go for a tasty nibble. But the no-see-ums are the midges. So if you're seeing something quite big, that's going to be a mosquito.
So Kielder Forest is going to be a bit of a haven for the midge. You've got the water, you've got the trees, you've got some hills. It's all there on tap. Why wouldn't you want to have a holiday or indeed reside in Kielder Forest? Talk to us about the life cycle of the midge then. We sort of touched on what some of the flies can be like. What's the life cycle and the process for the midge getting from its first state to where we see it hanging around the observatory and buzzing around us?
So flies go through what we call complete metamorphosis, which is lovely. So they go through an egg stage, a larval stage, a pupal stage, and an adult stage. And as you alluded to earlier, it's like most people just think about the adults. They forget about the whole other bit. And in doing so, you're missing out on probably one of nature's most amazing things is the pupa. So the egg stage is generally quite short-lived. Although some flies will make sure the egg can survive desiccation, so they can maybe have a second generation and the egg overwinters in that, and then it will be the onset of the nicer weather, whatever, it will hatch and the larvae come out. And you want to time the larvae for the food source. The larvae is they're like teenagers or toddlers, they're designed to eat. That's all they've got to do is they've got to eat. So, and they increase their body mass. It's an enormous, imagine, ours is quite big from a baby to a human, but that's 2-3 times the size. But these are like 20, 30, 40 times the size, which is that's a lot of eating. What a life. And, so in the UK, so it depends on what species of midge it is. There's over 170. Is whether they have got aquatic stage, larval stages, terrestrial stages. And if they're terrestrial, they're going to be in the leaf litter or things like that. So they're going to be decomposing. They're little hipsters. They're recycling all the little nutrients going on. They're doing a fantastic thing, and they're doing that. And then they were pupate. And this genuinely still blows my mind. I'm a 5-year-old thinking about this, because the idea of converting your body from one form to another, it's not 100% because you've still got these cells, these discs, the imaginal discs that tell the body what's going on. But basically reorganizing yourself from a sleeping bag full of goo to a locomotory organism with genitalia. So the idea of developing legs and wings and all of these things, and they are sensory loaded. Their head have got antennae, they've got eyes, of which each eye has thousands of little cameras on it. Their antennae, they can sniff out everything. They are just, and these legs, wings. Come on, wings. How useless are humans? Wings. We are rubbish. I want wings. I want to soar. I want to do that. And there's an amazing group of midges. I love these midges. We call them dragon riders because they will suck the lymph out of the veins of dragonfly wings. And when the dragonflies migrate hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, there's a little fat midge attached to it that looks like a massive ball. It's a donut with little legs and tiny wings, as she's still feeding off this dragon. How cool is that?
That's amazing. I'm getting a whole new appreciation for midge now. I'm going to be standing outside later just going, come at me. Let me help.
It is, so the midges, they also, this is not an adult show, so I won't tell you about some of their naughty behaviour, but the males will emerge before the females, and they were try and do all sorts of weird mating behaviours. And there are some species where the female pierces him through the head when she's mid-cop, and then dissolves his insides and eats his insides. It's fun. So that's good. So as a female, I just think this is hilarious.
Brilliant. So they say females don't rule the world, but actually in the fly kingdom...
Oh, mate, they do.
they got it.
Believe me, as someone who's studied insects for this long, it's like, I love the way that the human male is so self-deluded.
They're not to be messed with. Let's talk about flies in space then, of various kinds. Why did they choose these fruit flies, or vinegar flies as they are now, for these missions?
just think of flies as tiny humans. I think that's the easiest thing to do. So first of all, can they reproduce in space? That was a basic thing. And basically flies are like, yeah, bring it on. They love it. So it's like, okay, so, standard behavior, breathing, all of these things, reproducing. And then it was to look at the impact on the physiology of how much time. So as a Drosophila, you can have 3 to 4 weeks. So you've got a different generation. So we're able to see, how long is it going to take to get to Mars? 7 years? So how long that time would be on the human body. God knows how anyone's going to get back. And so it was like, okay, we can look at flies, we can look at any deterioration going on. And we are seeing massive amounts of deterioration. So it's trying to figure out how we can counteract that deterioration, what they need to do and things like that. So, and also looking at like the immune systems, looking at all of these and how it's gone on. They've looked at brains, they've looked at the hearts, they've looked at immune, and it's like all these tiny little experiments are going on with these little unnamed warriors in space.
I just imagine for some reason I just had a really vivid image of a tiny little doctor just working on a tiny little fly there. And I know they don't exist, but it's just the image when you were talking about that came to mind.
But the thing is, people don't think about flies as animals either. They don't think about them as that. I think we have a whole separation when it comes to insects, and we describe them as aliens, which is ironic. When actually we are more alien than they are in terms of our form and our function. So most animals, most creatures are insects. So, and we can we look at how locomotion works, and we look at Luna, how they have developed all these different ways of getting around the moon, and so they're doing little robotic flies. So they do robo bees, and now they're doing robo flies, and these are absolutely amazing. So they're showing how they can do nice balancing, how you can, and it makes much more sense to be able to fly across the surface than it does walk.
Sounds like some kind of sci-fi horror film, just loads of little robotic flies.
Well, why do you think most horror films are inspired by arthropods? Alien. He's like, that's an insect, that is. It's like, yeah.
So when it comes to dark skies in particular with flies, because of course we've got the forest floor, we've got the water as well nearby, but we also have the largest expanse of dark sky in Europe, or protected dark skies in Europe. How does that help contribute to the life of a fly?
Massively. So we are only just beginning to tap into what the impact of light pollution is on insects. And it is vast. And we are only beginning to, because we're humans, we're only beginning to study the insects at night, because most of the time we're either drunk or asleep. So it's like, okay, we've got to start figuring out what's going on. And we're realizing that a lot more things are pollinating at night. And really important pollinators, most of the micromoths, the tiny little insignificant moths that nobody pays attention to, are out there at night pollinating. You get some flies pollinating at night. So there's fungus gnats, and these are beautiful creatures. Lovely hump thorax, massive cocks, great looking species. And they are nocturnal pollinators. So if you bung a load of lights in, you completely disorientate them. So we know a lot of them navigate by the stars. We know, so if you suddenly disrupt in what they can see, it's so and it has a different sort of so our human lights, it disrupts them in so many different ways and disorientates them. I mean, everyone's seen the classic moth flying around a light bulb. That's because it's trying to triangulate, but the light bulb is so intense it can't figure out how to triangulate, so it's kind of stuck in this loop. So this poor moth is being worried to death, and that's what these lights are doing. And LEDs are equally bad,
Very different to how animation makes it look as flies kind of hover towards this light and they're hypnotized by it. But what you're actually saying here is that actually they're terrified, lost, haven't a clue where they are, and it's completely the reverse of being hypnotized.
So they have to, you know, as I've just said, that most adults, the insects have a short lifetime, short lifespan. And we're basically knocking them out at the reproductive stage. So this is when they should be creating more insects to help our planet look after each other, and we're wiping it out.
So what people could do to help the fly, turn the lights off. Turn lights off. We do not need silly little ornament garden lights everywhere. Okay? You go into all garden centres and they're like, yeah, look, have all of these. Or have this massive light that goes on when anything comes in the garden. I had a glowworm in my garden. A glowworm. I cannot tell you how genuinely excited I was to see this thing. It's the first time I've seen one since my childhood, and I probably said glowworm, and that's it, for about 2 hours. But I was like, glowworm, it's a glowworm, it's a glowworm. And you won't get those if you have got lights, because they are communicating, and if we're disrupting how they communicate, the glowworms will go. So what about different colour of lighting? Does that affect them as well? Things like if we, for example, we have a completely red lit observatory, is that helpful, or is it equally still as disrupting?
It's going to be disruptive at some point, but it's a lot better. So they see UVA, UVB, and UVC. So they have seeing things in a very different way to us. So different light spectrum, different waves. You know, it's gonna impact them differently. Different types of lighting impacts them. Different intensities of lighting.
So people could turn all their lights to red, keep them really low, and that's helpful.
It might give wrong messages all up and down the country, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. I think we just got to remember that we share the planet. We look at things like home ownership. We own the house, we own the garden. Actually, we don't. We're sharing it, and we've got to start thinking how to share it in a more harmonious way.
Is there I suppose a cultural thing as well, in the fact that obviously a lot of us are brought up with, you know, flies are a pest. You know, you get fly spray in your house, and if you've got a fly in there, you've got to get the fly out. There isn't much education about what a fly does or any insect does, apart from bees. I think most people can get on board with bees, but you know, obviously as you say, it's all part of the planet and the world. And that probably does come into it as well, that, you know, we are all to an extent brought up to see these as pests. Yeah.
And that's like saying that all mammals are planet destroyers because of one species. You know, we're quite taxist. So it's harder. We will lump them together. So the smaller they are, they're generally the more species rich, and our brain can't cope. So we talk about, people go, flies. Oh, I hate flies. I hate them. But I'm like, you probably hate maybe one or two species. The other 7,000 species you have given no thought to, and they're the ones providing you with mangoes, carrots, chocolate, tea, coffee. They're getting rid of your waste, sorting out the dead bodies, helping science, you know. And so you're right, they haven't got good press. The honeybee, which has got exceptionally good press, is ironic because it's basically a farmyard animal. It's not good for our environment. And by spending all our time concentrating on the honeybee, we're not thinking about all the others that are actually out there that have evolved to be alongside our flora. So they've got all these insects, like flies, have different lengths of proboscis. Okay? Because some of them have to get into the ovaries of plants that have got very long tubes. Some of them are very small. There's the ones that are, you know, the ones that pollinate cocoa. They have to be tiny. So there's this huge variety of form because there's a huge variety of plants. And so by saying, just let's look after the bees, we're like, no, hold on a minute. We've got to go big. We've got to go global. Let's look after all of it.
I think too, we're brought up as well that flies are, because where we see them sometimes living, or indeed spending time, that they're dirty. They spread disease and this kind of thing as well. So
and yeah, but they have to be the cleanest because they often are found in dirty environments, so they would get disease. So what you see, when everyone says, what's the fly doing? It's plotting. Well, it's actually cleaning itself. So watch them. They've done some terrible studies on this where they've cut the front legs off of flies. That's really bad because that's what they clean themselves in. And it takes them a while. It takes them maybe a couple of hours, but then they realize they can use their middle pair and they start cleaning because it's imperative that they get rid of the bacterium off them, etc. And interestingly, so I don't know if you have, but you should take some time out and study a dung pat. It's very good fun. Okay. Look at the community. I see that Ian is not totally buying into this. It's like...
well, I'm open-minded.
Good. Take your children, go and pack a picnic, spend a day watching a dung pat, but get there early because it's amazing how quickly succession comes. So these flies will sniff out this dung pat. The beetles they'll be at it, the fresh dung. Now, a lot of their larvae, therefore, live in and around the dung pat. Now, this is feces. So they have this amazing, their exoskeleton is kind of ridged and dimpled and everything because it breaks down the bacteria. So the bacteria can't get to it. So then you think about, hold on, why don't we microencapsulate our pills, our medicines for when they go into extreme environments? We give them a lot longer shelf life because we've been bio-inspired by the exoskeleton of these insects. So that's, even the ones we think that are really shit, they are actually bio-inspiring us in another way. And it's learning. And can you imagine if they didn't get rid of the feces? Just think about, there's a lot of humans, there's a lot of cows, there's a lot of sheep. Like an elephant is 100 kilos, I think it is, a day. That's a lot of feces. We got to thank our little brethren for getting themselves right into this tastiness.
Well, this is it, because no humans are doing it, are they? They're not cleaning up. So there you go.
No. My mum used to always say this to me when I was a kid. She always used to say, "Don't let the fly land on your food because it's been on poo or something." And she was terrified that she was going to get some bacterial infection from flies.
But did your mum handle money?
She did, actually, at one point, yeah.
Now, think about humans when they go to the toilet and how bad they are and all these things, and you're passing around this money. Your mobile phone, I guarantee if I did a swab of your mobile phone, would be discussed. No offence either of you two, because I'm sure obviously your hygiene is amazing. But your mobile phones would be absolutely covered. You're not going to touch anything now. But the thing is, so be sensible, cover up, and if you have got food, the fruit bowl, immediately you put the fruit out, the fruit is dead. It's going to start decomposing, right? That's what it does. And so it's giving off these volatiles, these organic chemicals. And the flies are like, yay, that smells amazing. And so off they come.
So that's like they work on scent then for that kind of stuff. That's how they hunt it out. Yeah.
So like forensic entomology. So when you're using flies to help you at crime scenes, on a really good day, no issues of wind or anything, they can smell a corpse like 9 kilometers away.
Wow. We've got crime-fighting flies as well as astronauts.
Yeah. No, we've been using forensic entomology flies for 1,000 years to help solve crimes.
No way.
That's
incredible.
And then we also use them in the NHS for getting rid of, we use them for debridement therapy. So you can go to your local hospital, and if you have a gaping wound or a nice ulcerating wound, you can also have maggot patches. So they would put little maggots on you, and they would get rid of all the dead flesh, the gangrenous flesh, and all the nasty flesh. And they release a digestive enzyme, which causes your skin to bind better. And they get rid of MRSA because they eat it. I mean, they're brilliant.
The answer to everything is just flies can solve it, I think.
Thank you. My job is done. Carry on.
There you go. We're totally turned round, eh?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Well, look, Erica, it's been fascinating. I know we could talk about flies and what they do for a long time because there's so many of them and so many different things. But certainly you've enlightened us, and I'm sure you've enlightened others as well about exactly what they do. But of course, as well, they're linked to our understanding of what may or may not happen were we to explore space any further.
I'd like to know, in a sentence, just in a very short sentence, why should we care about our flies and midge in particular, actually?
I think we should care for the intrinsic value of that they are another living, breathing creature on this planet. We have one that we know of, one habitable planet, one inhabited planet, I should say. And and it's great. And I love I have many arguments with people who study space. I did some work with Chris, who's the night sky?
Chris Lintott.
Yeah. So him and I are always fighting about this. And I'm persuading him that obviously he doesn't need to look at space. He just needs to look at flies. And he's like, no, Erica, space is where it's at and flies are okay. But it's, all of these things is that flies help this planet survive. And I think, therefore, let's look after the flies.
And can we do anything to safely, humanely keep them away from us if we find them a nuisance?
I wouldn't find a fly a nuisance. I don't understand this question.
I'm thinking swarm a midge round me.
Just cover up.
Or do I just cover up?
Wear the most ridiculous outfit and cover yourself. But also, different people are attracted to midges. So it depends on your blood group. It depends on all sorts of things. So if you're a very attractive person to midges, good luck. I, on the other hand, have a wrong blood group. I'm too novel and new with my blood group. So they haven't learnt to sniff me out in the same way. So, yeah, hang around with someone who's more attractive. I'm saying blood groups, not obviously.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great chatting with you, Dr. Erica McAlister. Thanks for joining us on the Kielder Observatory podcast and enlightening us about our own environment around the observatory, but also the importance of flies in general to the very advancement of mankind on Earth, in space, and of course bringing us chocolate too. So it's been great speaking with you. Thanks for joining us, and maybe we'll keep some of the midge samples we've got, and we can add them to your collection as well.
Go buy yourself a Malaise trap and let's talk.
Sounds like a deal. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Erica McAlister. Now, if you'd like to come up to Kielder Observatory, of course, we're heading to a period of the year where there will be fewer midge around. And you may see that as a positive, then get on and book your event. We'd love to see you at Kielder Observatory. All the details, all the events are available on the website, kielderobservatory.org, covering a whole multitude of different themes, from talking about the universe to how to take astrophotography, plus the aurora sessions as well, all different topics, and some kids sessions as well for the school holidays, either obviously back end of them now in August when we're putting this out, but later on into the year. Get booking, and we hope to see you soon. And thanks for joining us on the Kielder Observatory podcast. Take care.